What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazik. I am a fight guy and a Forbes contributor, and I just watched and just covered and just actually wrote up the recap for the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury rematch. And wow, is all I can really say. Wow. I am not actually shocked, even though I did go on record in a couple of different places actually predicting Deontay Wilder would win. Deontay Wilder came in as the favorite. But I'm not shocked. And I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to get in because I'm assuming there will be some people here that want to discuss and want to talk about the fight. But for anybody who did not get an opportunity to see this, obviously, hopefully, if you're coming, I don't want to be providing spoilers for you. But if you're just coming in and you didn't get a chance to watch the fight, it did not end well for Deontay Wilder. Tyson Fury wins by 7th round TKO. Deontay Wilder's corner was throwing in the towel just as it seemed Kenny Bayless was stepping in to stop the fight. I want to say I'm going to talk about the fight. Perhaps let me know. I'm going to talk about the fight first. As I mentioned, I'm not shocked, even though I picked Deontay Wilder to win. During fight week, as we got closer and closer to the fight, I really started to get shaky about my prediction. Some of it was the way Deontay was carrying himself. He looked to be a bit tense. He looked to be a little bit worried, a little concerned about I don't know. He obviously was in the ring with Tyson Fury the first fight, and I've maintained this ever since the first fight. I've said this from the beginning. I felt that when that decision was read at the end of the first fight, I thought that Deontay Wilder looked relieved. I thought that he looked as if, whew, I got away with one. I was lucky to escape this fight with my title because I scored that fight for Tyson Fury. A lot of people scored it for Tyson Fury. Obviously, Deontay was able to create some controversy or some doubt with the 2 knockdowns. So Deontay, I don't know if I would use the word robbed. I think I did at the time. As you kind of go back, maybe robbed is a little bit of a strong word, but Tyson Fury definitely got the short end of the stick. You know, we got Krista Briones is in here. I don't know if she says go Wild. I think I'm supposed to say go Wilder. Joe Tree says there's only one Tyson Fury. You are correct. There is only one Tyson Fury, and he showed it tonight for sure. Tonight's fight, from the beginning, Tyson Fury came out and he really took control of the center of the ring from the beginning. He literally ran up to meet Deontay Wilder. You could tell that he had 2 major game plans in this fight. First and foremost, he wanted to put pressure on Deontay and keep him on the back foot. Apparently, he knew that, and everybody knew that Wilder could not fight moving backwards, and he could not fight on his back foot. He knew that, right? Obviously, he knew that the having the extra weight and being able to bear down on Deontay would be something that drained him and further pushed Deontay out of his comfort zone. We saw both of those things happen, and I really want people to give Tyson Fury the respect that he deserves for the genius game plan and the execution that he showed in this fight. I mean, he made a decision to move away from a trainer who had been with him for his last 5 fights to go with Javon Sugar Hill Stewart because he wanted to put pressure on Deontay. He wanted to go for the knockout. And a lot of people thought it was like, whoa, that is the dumbest idea ever if you think you're going to be able to do that. But that's exactly what he went out there and did. In I think it was the 3rd round. In the 3rd round, he landed the right hand that bust Deontay's eardrum. I don't know what exactly is the full extent of the injury of the ear, but the blood that was coming out of Deontay's ear and at the clip that it was coming out, that was more than just an earlobe being lacerated. There was something else there. The other reason why you think something else was there was his equilibrium was all off. He was floundering, flopping all around the ring, and never seemed to get himself right after that shot. Never seemed to get himself right after that shot. I also really I appreciate you coming through, Psychic Bubblegum, man. He says that he don't even deserve a third fight, wasn't even close. I mean, he was the champion. He did drop Fury twice in the first fight. I don't know if I would go that far, but I can understand why you might say that. But I do appreciate you coming through. Man, I'm just looking at how Wilder conducted himself after the knockdown. I mean, the look on his face was like absolute panic. You could tell it was, and I hate to use this word because I think it's one of the most overused terms in our society today. But Deontay Wilder had the look of a bully who had just been fought back for the first time. And because he'd been so used to just walking up to every kid in the schoolyard, smacking them in the face, taking their lunch, walking off with it, and the kid sits there and cries while he eats their Lunchable. And when he got knocked down in the third round and got back up to his feet, I appreciated my fellow fight guy Peter Kahn is in there in the chat section. When he got back up to his feet, he looked just done. He was completely bewildered, befuddled, just like what you generally like to see from a fighter if they've been dropped is you like to see them go into, it's like stages, right? The first stage is, all right, let me get my wherewithal together. Let me make sure that I am, I can get my equilibrium back. Let me get the buzz off. Let me first do that. Then now let me go into a situation where I'm trying to figure out what did I just get hit with? Why did I get hit? And oftentimes this whole conversation has to take place in the corner. Let me figure out what happened. Now let me see if I can make an adjustment. None of that happened. It was, I mean, he looked like this for the entire rest of the fight after that first knockdown. We didn't get a lot of audio of Wilder's corner, but what we did hear wasn't helpful at all. I mean, JD's and those guys and Mark Breland, from what I heard, really they should be ashamed of the lack of guidance and the lack of concrete instructions it was the last time I saw a heavyweight or a fighter or a champion get so little help in the corner when they were in trouble was Mike Tyson in Tokyo against James Buster Douglas when Aaron Snell and company didn't even have anything to put on Tyson's swelling eye. They had a big balloon with an ice cube and some water in it or something, and they're literally trying to take Tyson's eye down. That's the last time I saw a champion get such little help when they were in the corner. So Deontay has this injured ear. His jaw's injured. He's bleeding out the mouth. He has no freaking clue of what to do. And I'm not saying that it would have made a difference because to me, Tyson Fury clearly proved he's just a better fighter. He's just a better fighter. I don't care how you do it, how you look at it, how you flip it. He just proved he's just a better fighter. That's just all it is to it. Deontay has the big weapon that can sometimes compensate for the fact that guys are better than him. But Tyson Fury's a better fighter. He's a better fighter, and that's what we saw. But even with that in place, JD's and Mark Breland didn't give anything. I mean, I'm looking at Deontay sitting on the stool, and I know he's done. And all JD's is telling him is back him up, jab, throw the right hand. Bro, you are completely no-selling the fact that blood is running out of his ear. He's bleeding out of the mouth. Also, one of the biggest problems with what Deontay was doing today was every time Tyson Fury would throw shots, instead of any left to right movement, Deontay kept his head on the center line and kept backing straight up, straight back like this, straight back. So all that was happening was Tyson Fury was following straight through and continuing to move straight forward with the jab and the straight right hand. And ultimately, what was happening is Fury was still putting the body pressure on, still keeping Wilder on his back foot. So if he didn't land, Wilder wasn't in a position to counter, because when you're backing straight up with your hands down like this, you can't counter. And the fact that he didn't have anything prepared beyond that is mind blowing to me. It's really mind blowing at this stage of the game. And I know that Deontay's this raw talent and raw guy, but at 34 years old, raw isn't cute anymore. Raw's not cute anymore. It's not. It doesn't do anything. It's not. So I'm gonna get to your comments, guys, because as Gabriel Marco says, Wilder can't box. I don't care, man. Nobody can really dispute that. Nobody can dispute that. What we saw, that you know what the worst part about what we saw today is, and I just got through telling my cousin this, and before I went live, we had a conversation. The worst thing about what we just saw was that Tyson Fury made Deontay Wilder look the way all of his biggest critics have said that he would look. You know, throughout Deontay's rise up to being a champion, all of the critics have said the guy can't box. You wait, he's going to get in the ring with somebody that's really skilled, and he's going to get embarrassed. That's if you go back and you look at all of the criticism about Deontay, this is what people have said. But because he won so much and for so long, I mean, we're talking about what, 9 or 10 successful defenses of the WBC heavyweight title, drops Fury twice, you know, knocks out Luis Ortiz twice. These are two good heavyweights, right? So just when you get to that point where you're like, well, maybe, because I mean, I literally wrote the article adorning Deontay as the most dangerous guy in boxing. He's the number one guy in boxing because even with all of his flaws, he still has this equalizer, right? But what happened tonight was, even though it may have come late, it was the payoff for every critic that he's ever had that says, I told you what's going to happen when he gets in there with a really skilled guy. And it's strange, it's crazy that it took 40 plus fights for Deontay to run into that guy, but that's what happened. That is what happened. Gabriel says he just only has the right hand. If you land it, it's good night. That's right. I mean, he, you know, Lost Survivor says this one hurt. I'm assuming you must be a Deontay Wilder fan. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna talk about Deontay Wilder fandom in a second. And I want to hear what you guys have to say about this as well. Colo Jr. says the IU Americans thought Wilder would win. Hey, man, I never, ever turn fights into geographical things unless the guy's from Chicago. Now, if the guy's from Chicago, I'm a Chicago guy, I'm probably going to root hard for him. He'd have to really do something for me not to root for him. But I don't turn it into geographical things. I don't even like or dislike guys based off of that. And I really try to stay away from the liking and disliking guys because of race or anything like that. If I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. But as a journalist, I'm going to cover it straight down the middle. Whoever I think is going to win, whoever I think won, I'm going to call it that way. So I kind of don't do that. Colo Jr., but you as a pure fan, you are well within your rights to say, hey, whatever you want, we own boxing. I got you. I feel you. The real scumbag says Deontay Wilder suffers the exact same fate as Anthony Joshua on June 1st, 2019. Both fighters suffer a punch to the ear in round 3. Those punches to the ear, while when you're looking at KO highlights, the punches that land that really make you go, whoa, are the ones that guys get hit in the nose, on the chin, on the jaw. Those are the ones that you go like, oh my God, he got rocked. But those punches to the ear and high on the top of the head, you will notice quite often drop guys, and it takes them a while to recover. Because what it does is when you get hit on the top of the head and you get hit hard, it disorients you. And you're a little buzzed for a second. When you get hit in the ear, if you get hit square in the ear, I don't know how many of you guys have been hit square in the ear. You get hit square in the ear, you're like, it's almost like the room is doing this for a second. And then it's like a teeter-totter machine type of a thing. If you get hit hard enough. So while those punches don't look like they just kill you, they have a huge effect, as we saw today. The real scumbag says scrambling their equilibrium and getting dropped only to barely survive a few stumbling rounds before the referee stopped the fight in round 7. Let me put this on the screen so you guys can see what I'm reading. Both fights have nearly the exact same storylines. Almost. But here's the difference. Here's the difference. I would say there is some parallels that you can draw between Wilder Fury 2 and Joshua Ruiz 1. The difference is Andy Ruiz is not a significantly better boxer than Anthony Joshua. I would say you could give Andy Ruiz some edge in pure boxing over Anthony Joshua, but it's not a huge gap from a skill standpoint, right? Joshua's skilled. Andy Ruiz has really fast hands and good feet. If he's not 283 pounds, they're even better. Tyson Fury is significantly more skilled than Deontay Wilder. Significantly. So while the first fight with Ruiz and Joshua, I knew that Joshua would win the rematch. I just knew that Ruiz wouldn't handle himself properly. I knew Joshua would come in. I knew he would fight smarter. I knew that would happen. This fight, I thought Deontay would get him in the fifth round. I saw somewhere in there. But like I said, closer to the fight, I started to get a little shaky with it. Adrian Bajanaro, I hope I said that wrong. Right. Says Wilder lost twice. I cannot argue with you. For people who say that I can't argue with you, you know why? Because when I scored the fight, I scored it for the first fight. I scored it for Fury. I thought that he won that fight by 2 rounds, even though he'd gotten dropped. Because by my count, I thought he had won most of the fight, most of the rounds, aside from the 2 that he got dropped. He says you don't want the third. I definitely don't want it immediately, because you know what I thought? I was all prepared to say. I said, well, you know what? Whoever wins this fight, I think you could make a case for a third fight. Like, that's what I thought before this fight happened, right? I was totally prepared for that. But now, after I've watched it and I watched the manner in which Fury dismantled Deontay, I'm not going to say you never need to see it, but I will say this. You definitely don't need to see it like immediately. I think that Wilder needs to come back and needs to defeat like 1 or 2 guys. And then ultimately he can come and challenge Fury again, or he can challenge hopefully the winner of Fury Joshua, which is a fight I hope that we see as early as the fourth quarter of this year. I think it's going to be a massive fight in the UK, probably at Wembley Stadium. They're going to sell that joint out, and it's going to do good pay-per-view numbers. It won't do as big a pay-per-view numbers in America, I think, as it will do in the UK, but it's still going to do good numbers. Fury is a superstar, man. Love him or hate him. If you think he's weird, he's licking blood, licking on the side of guys' necks and heads, whatever you want to say. He is a superstar. And superstars, what makes you a superstar is not necessarily just about you being great or everybody liking you. That's not what makes you a superstar. Everybody doesn't like Floyd Mayweather. What makes you a superstar is that people are compelled to watch you for good or for bad reasons. And Tyson Fury he's at that point, man. He's really at that point. TDH says, as a Brit just coming into the stream, what's the US reaction to Fury? The US reaction to Fury is kind of mixed. I know a lot of people say that, he gets on their nerves, he's weird, he's this, that, and the third. Then there's a lot of people that just find him charming, because when do you see a guy, a 6'9", 270-pound guy, knock out somebody as fierce as Deontay Wilder and sing 3 soft rock songs after the fight? I mean, this dude has created this tradition of knocking guys out and singing songs after the fight. It's a strange thing. I had an opportunity to interview him at Mike Tyson's ranch. That video is up on our channel. He's a different kind of dude. Like, when I walked up to him and I asked him, it was right before the Otto Vollen fight, and I said, why Otto Vollen? And he looked at me and you just started giving this weird, it's a weird quirkiness that he has. And it's kind of like a love it or hate it, but it is charismatic and it's magnetic in a way. And it makes people want to see him, whether you want to see him win or lose. Kevin Burke says he got rocked. He has to protect himself. Wilder has to work on his defense. Fury is the better fighter at the end of the day. I agree. I feel like I'm worried about Wilder moving forward. And I'm going to tell you why I'm worried about Wilder moving forward, Kevin. Because when the rest of the kids see the bully get smacked in the mouth, there's a bit of an aura or a shine on the aura that gets knocked off. And I think we might be at a place with that because anytime somebody's dominant, right, there is a blueprint that begins to be laid and printed for everybody to see. And while not everyone will have the physical skills and talent to execute this blueprint and game plan, people will begin to layer on top of it. I think we're seeing it in mixed martial arts with John Jones. And then when you also couple that with aging, things start to change. Things start to change. And I'm not saying Deontay Wilder's career is over, and I'm not saying none of that. That would be a prisoner of the moment. But what I'm saying is he has risen to a level in the sport where just being in existence isn't enough. He is supposed to be a champion. That's where he's supposed to be. He was 41-0 or 41-0-1 coming into this fight, or 40-0-1, whatever it was, coming into this fight. Knocked out every single person, or knocked down every single person he ever fought. And he was favored to win this fight. It did not happen. And boy, did it not happen. It looked bad, you know. And I don't know, man. I'm not sure at 34 years old that there are a lot of drastic changes that can be made with Deontay Wilder. He's had so much success already. And a lot of times when a guy has had as much success as Deontay Wilder has had, and he's 34 years old, you wonder how much can really be changed. I mean, his feet looked terrible today. I'm talking about he looked like, I'm telling you, he looked so amateurish tonight that it was bad. I mean, it was like Deontay Wilder in his 11th pro fight type of bad. It was bad. And so I don't know. See, Midnight Mage says, did Fury's leaning and weight make a difference? I saw a lot of headlocks. I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that because Fury held a lot, and I know why he held. He wanted to lean on Deontay. That was the whole point of coming in 273. That was what he was trying to do. So he leaned on Deontay a lot, and I get it. I understand why he did that. So I do think the weight was a factor. But Kenny Bayless struggled mightily as the referee with this fight. He took a point away from Fury, but I'm going to be totally honest with you, and I'm not saying that this is the reason that Deontay lost, but someone who was a little bit more forceful and able to call for breaks in some of these extended wrestling sequences could have potentially made this look a little bit different, right? Because the weight was a factor, man. Because, and I mean, Tyson Fury would I'm talking about front face. I thought he was going to, pull guard and go for a guillotine. I thought he was leaning on the back of Deontay's neck a lot. And I don't blame him because you use whatever aspects of your body and your frame and whatever the referee is allowing to get your advantage. But there was a lot of holding. There was a lot of leaning. So, and I do think that definitely worked in Fury's favor. TDH says, I think there is no doubt about Fury's supremacy, best heavyweight since Iron Mike Tyson. I think Fury's the best heavyweight in the world. Let me just say that to before, and I don't think there's any question. I think he's the best heavyweight in the world. I don't know. I would be very interested in what a Tyson Fury versus a motivated Lennox Lewis would look like. And I say a motivated Lennox Lewis because Lennox Lewis was one to show up and fight to the level of his competition, which is the reason why the losses on his career came to guys who it seemed like he had a hard time getting up to fight. So I would be interested in seeing what that happened, what that would look like. Tyson Fury against a younger Vladimir Klitschko. Tyson Fury against Vitaly Klitschko, who I still maintain was the best of the Klitschkos. I think that would be interesting. If you really want to, and I'm about to make some people mad. I'm about to make some people mad. I understand I am. I know I am. But I think Tyson Fury beats Mike Tyson. I think Tyson Fury beats Mike Tyson. I just, the length, the size, the ability to move, the jab, it's just a styles make fight kind of a thing. And stylistically, I think he gives Mike a problem. I just think he's too big, too long, moves too well. And the one thing about Mike Tyson, as much as I love Mike Tyson, I love Mike Tyson, but Mike Tyson always had an issue adjusting. If you were Mike Tyson's plan A worked almost all the time, but he had no legitimate plan B. And if you had an answer for his plan A, you were going to beat him. It was just so few people had an answer for the plan A. And I believe that Tyson Fury is one of the rare kinds of talents who I believe would have given my a lot of times people when you say stuff like that, they're comparing it to like, oh, you're fighting the mystique or the legend, right? And it's sacrilegious to say that any legend would lose to a guy. Mike Tyson's a man, just like Tyson Fury's a man. Mike Tyson lost to Buster Douglas. Mike Tyson lost to Lennox Lewis. He lost to Evander Holyfield. It can happen. It's not as if it never happened, right? It's not as if we're talking about a guy who never lost a fight. So you can't just automatically say, oh, because Mike Tyson and I respect him and I love him so much that I can't imagine him losing. Anybody can lose. It's about the style. It's about the style. Mr. C says he ain't the best until he fights Joshua. I mean, ultimately, that can prove that he is the best. And Joshua ain't number one until he beats Fury. Okay, so you're saying there's no number one. They're number one and 1A and 1B. And I understand that, and I can subscribe to that thought process. I can go with that because, you know, the best need to fight the best, and you need to unify titles in order for somebody to say that they're definitively the best. I think that from a talent standpoint, Fury's the best. Fury's the best heavyweight. But of course, we have to see them in the ring. Liam Younger says Fury only had 2 fights left before his contract is over. Yeah, he got 2 fights left before his contract is over with ESPN. But I'm going to tell you right now, ESPN is going to open up the floodgates to keep him for as long as he wants to fight. He is money. He is money, and they're going to keep him going for as much as they can. Mr. C says Joshua Fury versus Fury is the only fight left to see. I would agree. And Joshua has to beat Kubrat Pulev, which we would think he probably would, but he has to beat Kubrat Pulev first. I'm really interested in seeing what happens now with Deontay. You know, Adam Kalnacki, you know, he would seemingly would be the next guy that would have challenged Deontay, say if Deontay had beaten Tyson Fury tonight. I wonder if Kalnacki wins his next fight, if that's still a fight that happens. You know, does he still fight? Can he fight him now? And maybe the winner of that fight gets an opportunity to challenge for the undisputed heavyweight title. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, okay. 101 Inc. We like to keep it a certain type of way on here. So we try to we try to stay away from stuff that's not about boxing. So and let's see, Pierre LaRouge says Fury said he was going to put on weight and make Wilder put on weight. Fury carried it and Wilder can't. I do think that had a lot to do with it. You know, I feel like Deontay got wind that Tyson Fury was going to come in heavier, and to try to combat that, he tried to gain weight. I think it backfired on him. I think he looked clunky and a little more sluggish than normal. I was disappointed in Wilder's post-fight interview. I didn't like one thing I always hate to hear a fighter say, I'm not going to make excuses, but then make 5 excuses. So he said, oh, I had a leg and I had a lot of stuff going on, but then I don't have no excuses. Bro, you just gave 3. You just gave 3. You know, don't do that. I never like it when I hear fighters do that. Either you're going to get up here and say this is what happened, or you going to not. Preferably, you don't give any excuses at all, unless there was something just literally crazy. Something happened in the ring. You got cheated, something like that. But don't tell me nothing about something you heard in practice. I would prefer to hear you say you fought hurt after you won, because there's no way to properly receive you saying that you know, that something happened to you, that you were dealing with some sort of injury. There's no way to properly receive that after a loss. It's always going to come off as an excuse. The other thing about Deontay that makes it difficult for me sometimes with him, I have a real issue with this. I want a body on my record. And I know a lot of people say, man, oh, it's just gamesmanship and he's just trying to get attention and he wants to, man, I'm gonna tell you, man, I can't get with it. I can't get with it. And then every single time he gets an opportunity to back up off of those comments, he doubles down on them. I can't dig it. I just cannot deal with it. Boxing is already tough and dangerous and nasty enough. Unfortunately, things like that have happened and recently. Pat Day and it's other guys we've seen that have passed away in the ring. Adonis Stevenson didn't pass away, but he suffered life-changing injuries, things that ended his career. All this stuff has happened. To be so irresponsible and ignorant to the moment where you can say something like that and have an opportunity to second guess it and still continue to repeat those types of comments, I just find that to be really difficult to deal with. Just me. And this is somebody I've covered boxing for over a decade. I've been a fan for over 40 years. The first fight I ever saw was John the Beast Mugabe challenging Marvin Hagler. And, it was back like I think it was 1980 or 81. The first fight I ever saw, I was in love with the sport from that point on. So I'm not new to this. I understand. I watched live Ray Mancini, Dooku Kim on CBS. And when Dooku Kim got killed from the injuries in the ring. And that's the fight that made it where they outlawed 15-round championship fights because I believe he got killed in the 14th round. That's the reason why all fights are no bigger than 12 rounds. I watched that fight live. And after the fight, the referee committed suicide. Dooku Kim's mom committed suicide. It was a horrible situation. All of this is around death in the ring. And then you have these recent reminders of this. How can you say that? And I just don't get it. And then it's a lot of contradictions, right? He says, oh, I pray for everybody that both of us get to go home safe to our families, but I want a body on my record. Doesn't make no sense, bro. It really doesn't make any sense. So that's honestly, that is my biggest issue that's my only real issue with Deontay. From outside of, okay, I can pick apart certain parts of your fighting game, but yeah, beyond that, like, cause I want to root for Deontay. I really do. He's a big, muscular, athletic, nasty heavyweight. And it's like, yeah, who wouldn't, he's the type of dude you sit there and watch that fight with your son. You're like, this dude is nasty. I would like to feel that way without any sort of reservations, but that thing right there doesn't sit with me so well. Deep Digger says that he learned from the Klitschko's. He's talking about Tyson Fury. I definitely saw a little bit of Vladimir with the leaning and the hanging on him. I definitely saw a little bit of that. Dillian White, James Matches says, I think that Dillian White just I think him and Povetkin came to an agreement today. So I got to look again at what their date is, but I think that fight's already set. If it's relatively soon, because I know Deontay's got some healing to do. That ear has to heal. Whatever's wrong with his jaw has to heal. What are we in February? I would imagine we won't see Deontay back in the ring before September, October at the earliest. At the earliest, I don't think that we'll see him back before then. So we'll see what happens. Granwell Ferrero says that I was driving off the road. I think he didn't like the Mike Tyson thing, but sometimes you got to put your fandom and admiration down and just look at it from a pure sports standpoint. Mike Tyson was in his prime, had fantastic head movement and great speed, and we all know we had sick power, and he had really good hand speed. But Mike Tyson's 5'11", right? Who 5'11", fighting 8. You can't forget. Don't get caught up in how non-athletic Tyson Fury looks from a body standpoint. Look at what he does in the ring. It's no joke, man. It's real. It's real. The dude is skilled, man. The dude is skilled, and he's 6. Do you realize that literally he's almost a foot taller than Mike Tyson? That matters. 85-inch reach, and he has the skill to use the jab. I don't know, man. I don't know. I stick with what I'm saying. Let's see. And Deep Digger says Mike would be way too small for Fury. I kind of believe it. Pierre LaRue says Tyson was a bully like Wilder. He did have a very much a bullying mentality. A lot of fighters that fought Mike Tyson were beat before they got there. I remember watching Mike Tyson fight Alex the Destroyer Stewart. And I remember watching Stewart's ring walk. And Alex Stewart walked to the ring. He looked like, I can't believe I signed this contract. I cannot believe I'm here. And he fought like that. That's exactly how he fought. Tyson Fury, not some fighters just are they don't get affected by that kind of a thing for whatever reason. And I think Tyson Fury is one of those kind of guys. Let's see. James Matthews says Fury loves proving people wrong. Heart the size of Ali's. He does have great heart, and he's also a little off. Fury's crazy, man. Like, and I'm talking about and I know he had the mental health issues, but what I'm saying when I say crazy, I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about certain athletes, right? Adrian Peterson has this. Adrian Peterson tore his knee up, right? Had this horrible ACL injury. And everybody told him, like, dude, this injury, you're supposed to be out this amount of time with this. And he's like, no, I'll be back. I'll be back at this time. And they're like, dude, you crazy. There's no way in the world you're gonna be back. No, I'll be back then. And literally, you're not supposed to be back at that time because science, medicine, recovery, history says you're not. But this dude says he is, and physically he's a freak athlete, so he does it. Tyson Fury has those similar qualities. Like, you're not going to tell him that it's not going to go this way. It's enviable, to be totally honest. Let's see. What do we have here? See, B100 says, I feel before Fury, Wilder's always chosen his opponents very carefully. I don't think so. No, I'm not going to say that. Wilder has not chosen opponents very carefully. Wilder has fought every single guy there was for him to fight. He beat all of those guys. Many of the guys he was supposed to fight failed drug tests. Luis Ortiz failed drug tests before he fought him the first time. He fought everybody there was to fight. He didn't duck anybody, and he beat all of those guys, which is the reason why people began to believe in him. So I don't think that's the case. Tyson Fury is a good fighter, y'all. He's a good fighter. He's a good fighter. See, Granwell says, stick to this era. Don't talk about this now. Keep this for the coming week. Focus on this one. You know what? You're probably right, Granwell. This could be a whole nother topic. You're right. We could do a whole separate drop on that subject just itself. Let's see. Pierre says Joshua has been beaten. They aren't equal. Yeah, that's a good point. Pierre has a good point. Pierre, I don't remember who that was that said Mr. C said that. Says that, oh, you can't say that either one of them is better. Yeah, Pierre got a good point. Tyson Fury still hasn't been beaten, and the only mild blemish on his record, you could argue he won that fight. So had to get the water, but you could argue he won that fight. So I don't know. That's a really good point. That is a really good point. Let's see. TDH says that Lennox comeback mode versus Fury would be brilliant. Oh no, man, no way, bro. No, Lennox. Do you see what Lennox looks like right now? Lennox looks like somebody granddaddy, man. And he might very well be. No, that's not gonna work out. That is not gonna work out. Let's see. Oh, he says Tyson Fury calls himself a man of God. How Christ like? Yeah, he did some odd stuff, but man, hey, I'm not here to judge anybody on that level. Hey, I don't know nothing about his relationship with God. I do know that he's 6'9" and he's nimble, and he has a fantastic jab and great defense and a heck of a boxing IQ. So that's what I know. TDH says gonna go soon because it's 7 in the morning, but you got a sub. Very honest boxing talk. Love it. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for watching. I try to be honest. That's all we got. We can do a lot of things, but we got, if honesty is it don't cost you nothing, but I do appreciate you watching, especially at 7 in the morning. Let's see. Zabagio Nig says, I knew it was coming. Zabaglo, I'm sorry. Zabaglo Nig says, I knew it was coming. Man, I'm not going to say I knew it was coming. Like I said at the top of the show, I'm not surprised. I did pick Wilder to win, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Fury's a heck of a fighter. Let's see, Brexit Bribery Committee says, I don't think Deontay could have won under any circumstances tonight. By the end of the first fight, Fury realized he was not just a better boxer, but had an unused power advantage to tap into. Game over. You're not wrong. You are not wrong, sir. You are not wrong. I think that is why Fury was so hell bent on winning this fight by stoppage, because I do think that in the course of that fight, he realized especially when he got up in the 12th round and then won the rest of the 12th round in that first fight, I think he started to think to himself, he's like, I can knock this guy out. I think I can knock this guy out. And I think I know what I'm going to do it. Nobody knew for sure if he's going to be right, but I think that it looked like that was his concept. It was like, I think I can get this dude. You know, I'm a better boxer than him. I probably gave him too much respect the first fight, and I think I can get him. I don't think that that's wrong. And see, Dan says, all I read was it said unpopular opinion, which made me want to see it even more. Dan Dragonfly says, this is probably an unpopular opinion, but this came down to timing, which Fury took full advantage of. It's also fair to say that Wilder came in a little over complicated. I don't know exactly what you mean, over complicated. I don't know. Wilder was heavier, so maybe he overthought it. I don't know. Maybe that's what you mean. When you say timing, I don't know what you. I mean, they both had 2 fights since the first meeting. If anything, you could have said timing was in Deontay's favor because Fury had just had a tough fight with Otto Valen and he had suffered a really bad cut. We didn't never see any evidence of that cut in this fight at all, or it even having a chance to open up. So I'm not sure what you mean. Let's see. Smoothie Nation says that Mike would beat Wilder, but not Fury. You know, I think probably. I think probably he beats Wilder. I think he probably beats Wilder, but I do think that length is important still. I think Deontay's size and length is still important, and Deontay can still punch. But yeah, I don't think that you can beat Mike Tyson without a dominant jab. You have to have a dominant jab. If you don't have that, I'm talking about prime Mike. I'm not talking about the Mike later on Mike. I'm talking about prime Mike. I think you got to have a dominant jab because the dominant jab is what stops his rhythm. It stops the pressure. It stops the head movement. Boom, when he's coming in, you got to be able to boom. You got to be able to drop that bang, bang to stop that movement. You got to be able to give him something to think about. When you saw how Buster Douglas beat him, that was a big part of it, right? And then you stop, boom, jab, 1, 2, boom, boom, and then you're moving, you're sidestepping, so he doesn't get a chance to get. It's almost like a running back that you can't let get 3 steps going through the hole because once he gets his momentum up, now that first tackler is not going to get him. That jab is that timing and it's that timing and that momentum stop. And you got to have that if you're going to beat Mike Tyson. I don't think that Deontay has that on that level, but he does have that big power in the long range. So it could be interesting. But yeah, I favor Mike would probably beat Deontay too. I'm not 100% positive, but because the 6'7", 5'11" thing is, Mike Tyson beat a lot of guys that were taller than him, but not 6'7", not with an 84-inch reach, and not with possibly the hardest right hand in boxing history. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We won't see, but it's interesting. Pickleman says Tyson would win just as hard a puncher as Wilder and way more skilled. Definitely more skilled than Wilder. I don't know if quite as hard a puncher, but definitely in the same category. But the difference is the height. And I don't think you can undersell the height at all. I think that's a big deal. Let's see. B100 says Tyson's style reminded me of Lennox Lewis. I think Tyson Fury. I think when you said Tyson style, I'm assuming you're talking about Tyson Fury. I think Fury's moves a lot more than Lennox ever did. Lennox didn't move this much. As much as Tyson Fury does. He wasn't as nimble. He wasn't left and right movement as much. He moved more than Deontay Wilder, but he not as much. Movement was not as big a part of his game as it is Tyson Fury's. Let's see. Brexit says, I second that. TDA said, make that 2 new Brits subscribe. I appreciate you, man. I really do. For sure I do. All the subscribers we get, we absolutely appreciate it. Smoothie Nation said Lennox Lewis could beat Fury. I'm not saying that wouldn't. I'm not saying that's impossible. I could see. I mean, Lennox was a heck of a fighter, man. Especially when he was switched on and ready. He was a heck of a fighter. But I'm gonna tell you, Vitaly Klitschko, I still say he was the best of the brothers, best of the Klitschko brothers. I think he walked away partially to let his brother shine, and then he also had the interest in politics. But Vitaly was a heck of a fighter. When he fought Lennox Lewis, he was coming back. If his eye wasn't that bad, it would have been really interesting to see how that fight ended. It turned out to be Lennox's last fight. Hewling says, how do you think a third fight would go? I love your Lavelle Crawford, Avi Hewlings. But a third fight, honestly, I think looks just as bad. If I don't think that Deontay has enough time and access to the right guys to correct what's wrong. Sometimes when you have so much success, it's really difficult to change, man. It's really difficult to say. I mean, because man, Deontay's defense and there's a lot of holes there, but it's the thing of it is that most guys are not going to have the skill and the size to expose those holes, right? That's the thing. But what are we talking about the third fight with Tyson Fury and Deontay? I don't think Deontay can close a gap or can fill the voids required to beat Tyson Fury unless Tyson Fury experiences some sort of fall off for whatever reason, something happens with him, maybe then. But assuming we see the same guy we saw tonight from Tyson Fury, I don't think a 34, 35-year-old Deontay Wilder can close those gaps. I just think this is a fight stylistically. Everybody's got a guy, right? I don't care who you are. Every fighter just about has a guy that I don't care how you do it. Who was it? Mark was it Mark Breland? I believe it was Mark Breland. Funny I'm saying that because Mark Breland is Deontay's trainer. I think it was Mark Breland. Could not beat Marlon Starling. I mean, and you would look and you would say, oh, well, Mark Breland was on that 84 Olympic team. He was fantastic and he looked like that guy and all of this. And I believe, it was Mark Breland. He could not beat Mark Breland. He could not beat Marlon Starling. So the first fight he fought him, Marlon Starling knocked him out of TKO in 1987. It was in August of 87. They had their rematch in April of 1988, and it was a split draw. It was something about that guy. He just couldn't beat him. He just could not beat the Magic Man. And I think that happens to some guys, and I think that this is just his guy. He can't. I don't think he can beat him. Let's see. Rich Rag says he wouldn't fight AJ. I think Tyson Fury would fight AJ. I think that there's a lot of money there. Now, James says that Wilder needs to retire. Man, I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far. It's nice that they all got big paid. I mean, both men were guaranteed $28 million. There was a 50-50 split of the pay-per-view revenue. I think they may have gotten a piece of the gate. The gate broke the Las Vegas heavyweight record for the largest gate for a heavyweight fight. They sold more than $17 million in tickets. So these guys were paid well for their efforts tonight. But I don't think he needs to retire. I wouldn't go that far. Martin Costello says, do you think Wilder's balance was disrupted because of his ear? I do think so. I really think that it was disrupted because of the ear. I also think it was disrupted because Fury was so much heavier and bigger in the clinching sequences. And when he would lean on Wilder, I think his ear was busted and he literally drained the energy. Also, I think there was some panic there. Deontay has never been in the situation he was in tonight. He's never been in that situation where he was that much in trouble. Like, against Luis Ortiz, the first fight, he had a little troubling moment. Against Eric Molina, I think he got buzzed up at one point. But this was, oh my God, I just got knocked down. Oh my God, this dude is walking forward and I can't stop him from walking forward. Oh my God, I'm fighting off my back foot and I can't get off of it. Oh my God, he's 273 pounds. And when he leans on me, he's physically stronger and he's moving. That all of this stuff starts to do a job on a fighter psychologically. And when you start to do a job on a fighter psychologically, it starts to drain their energy quicker. And I think so. All of that mixed in is what you saw. Um, let's see what is he. That's a long name. I'm not gonna read it, but uh, it was he says everyone forget that Wilder is the king of hitting at the back of the head. What is he going to say now that he was laughing at AJ? He was massacred. AJ got back his 3 belts. I don't think Wilder's the king of hitting at the back of the head. Sometimes his punches are so wide and wild that they kind of go everywhere. But yeah, he got beat tonight. Let's see. Adiola says I think Fury beats Wilder any day. The first one was close, even though most folks think he won the first. I'd love to see a trilogy. Yeah, man, I don't know. The trilogy is hard to sell right now. I think the trilogy will be easier to sell if Wilder wins 2 more fights, knocks 2 guys out, and starts calling out Fury. And that, I think then you can sell the trilogy. But the way this fight look right now, to run this back later this year is going to make people go, why? You know, I'm not sure. So it was a crazy, crazy fight, guys. It was a great fight from a hype standpoint. It was it wasn't a great fight. It was a great event. The event itself, seeing this much attention around boxing, seeing this much attention around the heavyweight division, that was great. That was when you know that there's some buzz that still can be generated for the biggest division in the sport. And that was fantastic to watch. It really was. It would probably have been better if the fight was more competitive and was epic like the first fight. But I do think that Fury definitively proved that he was the best fighter. And now I do think there's only one fight that really makes a lot of sense. But hopefully we start to see some other heavyweights. Keep an eye out for guys like Tony Yoka. Start to see some other heavyweights just start to rise and become viable contenders for this title, for these titles. I do want to see an undisputed heavyweight champion. I think it's time that we do that. And I think it's feasible that we could see that before the end of the year. So that would be great if we could see that. But that's all I got for you guys today. I appreciate everybody who hopped on. We had a nice crowd, had a nice little bit of conversation going. If you have not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. You can share the video in the event that in the event that you know someone else who would appreciate it. My man Michael Jones says his first time on the channel. Love the breakdown. Respect from the UK. I appreciate you, man. I love it that we're getting visitors and people from all across everywhere. You know, talking about boxing. Boxing is a link, man, because it's a huge sport in so many different countries, and it's something that it's like almost like basketball. Everybody can vibe with it, right? So I appreciate you guys watching as always. God bless.